Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world, with me Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. 47th ASEAN Summit begins in Kuala Lumpur. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to participate in ASEAN India Summit virtually. East Timor, Asia's youngest nation, becomes 11th member of the Southeast Asian bloc ASEAN. East Timor, Prime Minister says history made as members signed the declaration. Vice President of India C.P. Radhakrishnan on a two-day visit to Seychelles to represent the country at the swearing-in ceremony of newly elected President Dr. Patrick Herminie. Trump imposes additional 10% tariffs on Canada over using late US President Ronald Reagan in advertisement to oppose tariffs. Trump gives Hamas 48 hours to return all deceased Gaza hostages. IDF conducts targeted strike in central Gaza, says operations will continue to remove any immediate threat. And in ICC Women's Cricket World Cup, India to take on Bangladesh in their last group stage encounter at Navi Mumbai today. A very good morning to all the viewers joining us at this hourly broadcast. To begin with the latest. Well, Malaysia is hosting world leaders for the 47th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the ASEAN India Summit virtually. Well, ASEAN is central to India's Act East policy and plays a key role in global geopolitics given its strategic location and its economic potential. DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh brings us more. Take a look.
Kuala Lumpur becomes the epicenter of global diplomacy this weekend as Malaysia hosts the 47th ASEAN Summit. ASEAN stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nations, a regional intergovernmental organization of 10 member countries, including Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand and Vietnam. ASEAN is central to India's Act East policy, serving as a cornerstone for economic, strategic and cultural engagement across the Indo-Pacific. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to join the ASEAN India Summit virtually. Earlier this week, Prime Minister Modi spoke with Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and extended greetings on Malaysia's assumption of ASEAN chairmanship. He conveyed best wishes for the successful conduct of ASEAN-related summits under Malaysia's leadership. PM Modi reaffirmed India's commitment to further strengthen ASEAN-India comprehensive strategic partnership. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will represent India at the 20th East Asia Summit in Kuala Lumpur. India and ASEAN will look to strengthen cooperation in maritime security, counter-terrorism and cybersecurity, expedite ASEAN-India trade in goods agreement to make it more effective and user-friendly, promote diverse, secure, transparent and resilient supply chains, cooperate in humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, peacekeeping measures, cooperate on emerging technologies including AI, blockchain, Internet of Things, robotics, quantum and 6G, boost people-to-people ties with 2025 designated as the ASEAN-India Year of Tourism. ASEAN sits at the crossroads of major shipping lanes and economic corridors between the Pacific and Indian Oceans, amplifying its geopolitical and economic importance. US President Donald Trump, Brazil President Inácio Lula da Silva, along with host of leaders from across the world are gathering in Kuala Lumpur to engage with the Southeast Asian bloc. ASEAN countries have a population of over 670 million, making it the third most populous region in the world and a combined GDP of $3.9 trillion. Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India.
And now I'm joined by DD India's Jessica Taneja to give us more on this. Good morning, Jessica. Take us through the agenda of this year's ASEAN Summit and why this becomes a key platform for India, as PM Modi is also likely to address the summit virtually.
Correct, Deepika. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the summit virtually, and it was being represented by the External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, as the report pointed out. Important events will take place in Malaysia, where the ASEAN Summit is being held, with President Donald Trump to arrive along with other countries which are dialogue partners that include selected China, even the European Union, Australia. So expect a lot of activity there, but the focus really is on how digitalization can improve the workforce, can improve various economies. And if you look at these 10 nations that form the ASEAN, or the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, India has had a relatively good relationship with the ASEAN bloc, starting from 1992 to today in 2025, when the policy is now Act East policy, which ASEAN nations, ASEAN in general, is an important component as well. And with the engagements throughout the day that you would witness, of course, there's lots on the agenda, starting with the Thailand-Cambodia peace pact, to looking at how the implementation of the 5-point consensus that was drawn for Myanmar, along with other discussions related to trade, even security and economic cooperation among the blocs. And also an important development would be Timor-Leste becoming the 11th member of ASEAN after nearly 14 years of negotiation for the region in Southeast Asia. And that certainly becomes even more significant. And with the given situation that most of these nations find themselves in, especially when it comes to maritime cooperation as well, and the situation on the South China Sea, expect a lot of current developments and technical details to evolve over the next 2 days as these leaders meet in Malaysia.
All right. Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us and giving us the latest. Well, US President Donald Trump arrived in Malaysia on Sunday on the first leg of an Asian tour. In Malaysia, Trump is due to attend the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit. He is also set to sign a trade deal with Malaysia and will witness the signing of a ceasefire agreement between Thailand and Cambodia. Trump is also expected to meet Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva on the sidelines of the ASEAN Summit. The highlight of the Trump's visit is expected to be the South Korea, where Trump will meet Chinese President Xi Jinping on Thursday for the first time since his return to the office. Well, Trump is also due to land in the southern port city of Busan on Wednesday ahead of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit and will meet South Korean President Lee Jae-myung. Trump is also expected to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un for the first time since 2019. Now, Asia's youngest nation, East Timor, became the 11th member of the Southeast Asian bloc ASEAN at its summit on Sunday after being signed by leaders of member states. East Timor, also known as Timor-Leste's joining, was formalized by ASEAN leaders at the opening of their annual summit in Kuala Lumpur on Sunday, where applause rang out as East Timor's flag was placed on the stage. Now, East Timor's accession to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations follows a 14 years wait. It represents a symbolic victory for its president, Jose Ramos Horta, and Prime Minister Xanana Gusmão, the heroes of its struggle for independence. In an emotional speech, East Timor's Prime Minister said it was a historic moment for his country, with a new beginning that would bring immense opportunities for trade and investment. He said East Timor's accession is a testament to the spirit of its people, a young democracy born from the struggle. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim welcomed East Timor to the ASEAN family and said it reaffirmed the shared destiny and deep sense of regional kinship.
To President Ramos Horta, Prime Minister Xanana Gusmão, its place here completes the ASEAN family, reaffirming our shared destiny and deep sense of regional kinship. Within this community, Timor-Leste's development and its strategic autonomy will find firm and lasting support.
Now, United States President Donald Trump, along with Cambodia and Thailand, are going to sign the Great Peace Deal between the Southeast Asian countries and Malaysia. Trump, writing on his Truth Social platform on Saturday, said a proudly brokered peace deal between Cambodia and Thailand would be signed immediately upon arrival. Well, Trump helped broker a ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia after tensions erupted in July, leading to the deadliest military clashes in decades that killed more than 40 people. However, on the 23rd of October, Thailand and Cambodia agreed to advance efforts to demarcate their shared boundary following a 2-day special meeting of the Joint Commission held in Chhath in Thailand. Japan's new Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi told the US President that strengthening their country's alliance is her government's top priority. Now, Takaichi, in her first phone call on Saturday, also told Trump that Japan is an indispensable partner in terms of the US's strategies towards China and the Indo-Pacific. According to a post on the Japanese Premier's official website, the two leaders confirmed their shared commitment to further elevating the alliance to newer height. Takaichi spoke to Trump from Malaysia, where she is attending a regional forum that began on Sunday. Trump spoke from Air Force One while on his way to Malaysia. Trump will visit Japan from Monday and hold a summit with Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi on Tuesday. US President Donald Trump announced on Saturday that he is increasing tariffs on Canadian goods by an additional 10% in response to a Canadian ad featuring late US President Ronald Reagan. Trump announced the higher tariffs in a Truth Social post on Saturday, referencing the ad that features a video of former President Ronald Reagan. Trump called the advert a fraud and lashed out at Canadian officials for not removing it ahead of the World Series Baseball Championship. Trump said, because of their serious misrepresentation of the facts and hostile act, I'm increasing the tariff on Canada by 10% over and above what they are paying now. Trump posted the message while he was aboard Air Force One on his way to Malaysia, the first stop on a trip through East Asia that will largely focus on trade issues. The announcement came 2 days after Trump said he had terminated all trade talks with Canada over what he called the fake ad campaign. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. China's top trade negotiator arrives in Kuala Lumpur for a second day of trade talks between the United States and China. With no resolution in sight, US government shutdown enters day 25th. And Chile sets Guinness World Record for the world's largest clothing swap.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. US President Donald Trump on Saturday said Hamas needs to start returning the bodies of deceased hostages quickly to ensure that everlasting and strong peace is maintained in Gaza. Trump said that he will be observing the actions of Hamas for the next 48 hours and see whether they return the bodies of the deceased hostages which can be reached. Trump wrote in a Truth Social post that some of the bodies are hard to reach, but others they can return now, and for some reason they are not. Now, perhaps it has to do with their disarming, but when I said both sides would be treated fairly, that only applies if they comply with their obligations, quote unquote. While all the living hostages have been returned from Gaza, the remains of 13 deceased hostages have not been handed over by Hamas. Meanwhile, Israeli forces said on Saturday it had carried out a targeted strike on an individual in central Gaza who was planning to attack Israeli troops. The IDF, in a social media post, said that it conducted a precise strike in the Nuseirat area in central Gaza, targeting a terrorist from the Islamic Jihad terrorist organization who planned to carry out an imminent attack against IDF troops. The IDF further stated that Israeli troops in the Southern Command are deployed in the area in accordance with the ceasefire agreement and will continue to operate to remove any immediate threat. US President Donald Trump on Saturday thanked Qatar's Emir and Prime Minister for being a big factor in helping secure a Gaza ceasefire deal. US President Trump met with the Emir of Qatar, Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jassim Al Thani on board Air Force One during a refueling stop at Al Udeid Air Base near Doha. Trump said the duo had played a crucial role in the Middle East peace process, adding that Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani had been his friend to the world. Qatar has played a key mediating role in indirect talks between Israel and Hamas since the outbreak of the conflict and is among the guarantors of peace deal along with Egypt, United States and Turkey. Now, tensions between Russia and Ukraine does not seem to rest. Russia on Saturday claimed that its forces have continued to make advances in several directions, including Sumy and Kharkiv, over the past 24 hours, while Ukraine said the same day that its troops had repelled Russian attacks in multiple areas, including Pokrovsk. According to the daily report from the Russian Ministry of Defense, its forces carried out strikes targeting Ukrainian defense industry facilities, energy infrastructure, and temporary deployment sites of Ukrainian troops and foreign mercenaries. Meanwhile, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, in its operational update, said its forces had targeted 5 areas wherein Russian personnel, weapons, and military equipment had been concentrated over the previous day. US President Donald Trump's administration has prepared additional sanctions it could use to target key areas of Russia's economy if President Vladimir Putin continues to delay ending the Moscow conflict in Ukraine. US officials have also told European counterparts that they support the European Union using frozen Russian assets to buy US weapons for Kyiv. Also, Trump has positioned himself as a global peacemaker, but has admitted that trying to end Russia's more than 3-year-old conflict in neighboring Ukraine has proven harder than he had anticipated.
I'm going to have to know that we're going to make a deal. I'm not going to be wasting my time. I've always had a great relationship with Vladimir Putin, but this has been very disappointing. I thought this would have gone long before peace in the Middle East.
Now, tensions are mounting between US and Venezuela as the Caribbean country is conducting military exercises to protect its coast against any potential covert operations as the United States expands its regional military presence. The move comes a day after the Pentagon ordered the deployment of an aircraft carrier strike group into the region, an escalation of the ongoing campaign of deadly attacks on alleged drug smuggling boats that have killed at least 43 people. Now, since the 2nd of September, US forces have bombed 10 alleged drug boats, with 8 of the attacks occurring in the Caribbean. Trump accuses Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro of leading a drug cartel that Maduro denies. Now, since August, Washington has deployed a fleet of 8 US Navy ships 10 F-35 warplanes and a nuclear-powered submarine for anti-drug operations. But Caracas maintains these maneuvers mask a plan to overthrow the Venezuelan government. The aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford will enter the region to join the fleet. The warship USS Gravely is also travelling to Trinidad and Tobago on Sunday for 5 days of joint exercises. China's top trade negotiator and Chinese vice premier arrived on Sunday at a venue in Kuala Lumpur for a second day of trade talks between the United States and China. With high-stake talks and a possible meeting between US President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping on the horizon, all eyes are on efforts to prevent a fresh escalation in the ongoing trade dispute. Here's more.
The world's two largest economies are back at the negotiating table, trying to avert another trade war showdown. As US President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are set to meet in South Korea next week in what could be a make-or-break moment for global markets. President Trump, embarking on his first East Asia visit since taking office this year, said he is hoping for a very good meeting with Xi and expects China to strike a deal to avoid another round of massive tariffs as high as 100% set to kick in on November 1.
We have a lot of things to discuss, including our farmers. We have a lot of things to discuss. The various trade deals that have been made in the past, and some broken, some not broken, but we've got many, many things. I think it's going to turn out to be a very good meeting. Yeah, sure, they have to make concessions. I guess we would too. We're at 157% tariff for them. I don't think that's sustainable for them, and they want to get that down, and we want certain things from them. I think it'll be very good. What do you think?
President Trump also signals that he wants Beijing's help in managing Washington's strained ties with Moscow.
Well, I'd love China to help us out with Russia. We put very big sanctions on Russia. I think those sanctions are going to be, they're very biting, they're very strong. But I'd like to see China help us out. One of the things we'll talk about is the Russia-Ukraine. They're killing 7,000 people a week. Soldiers, mostly soldiers. And we'll certainly be talking about that. He'd like to see that end.
Meanwhile, in Kuala Lumpur, top economic officials from both nations have wrapped up their first day of talks. The US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent met with China's Vice Premier He Lifeng, with officials describing the discussions as very constructive. Tensions remain high as Washington and Beijing have already raised tariffs on each other's goods and threatened to halt trade, key minerals and technology. All eyes are now on South Korea as Trump and Xi prepare for a high-stake meeting that could decide the fate of global trade. Bureau Report, DD India.
The US government shutdown is now on day 25th with no resolution in sight as both the sides remain entrenched in their positions over the second longest funding lapse in history. The Senate adjourned on Thursday and won't return until Monday afternoon, meaning the impasse is all about certain to stretch into next week. The upper chamber has failed to advance a GOP funding bill 12 times, most recently on Wednesday. More than 40 million Americans are at risk of going without food assistance benefits at the end of the month if the shutdown continues. The US Department of Agriculture said on Saturday that food benefits under one of the country's biggest social assistance programs will not be issued next month amid the ongoing federal government shutdown. Governors in Louisiana and Virginia declared state of emergencies this week to make funds available to help with hunger relief in anticipation of SNAP benefits not being issued next month. France is under pressure to pass a spending bill by an end-of-year deadline to rein in its deficit and rising debt, but efforts have been hampered by a political crisis. Prime Minister Sebastian Lecornu, who has promised not to use a parliamentary tool employed by previous governments to force through unpopular measures, is under pressure from both the left and the right. The right pushed through some of its measures on Saturday evening, including eliminating taxes on overtime. The left is still waiting to put its plans for a tax on the super-rich to the vote. Lecornu himself survived a confidence vote earlier this month by agreeing to suspend a deeply unpopular pensions reform under pressure from the socialists. Lithuania's Vilnius airport closed on Saturday due to weather balloons entering its airspace from neighbouring Belarus. According to Lithuania's National Crisis Management Centre, the traffic at the airport was suspended until 2300 GMT. This was the fourth such disruption recorded in the month of October. Earlier on Friday, the NATO member nation closed its two biggest airports and shut crossings on its border with Belarus after helium weather balloons drifted into its territory. European aviation has repeatedly been thrown into chaos in recent weeks by drone sightings and other air incursions, including at airports in Copenhagen, Munich and the Baltic region. Vote counting is underway in Ivory Coast after a contentious presidential election with long-time incumbent widely expected to win a fourth term. Nearly 9 million Ivorians were registered to vote on Saturday in a race that saw 5 contenders vying for the presidency. Ouattara has wielded power in the world's top cocoa producer since 2011, when the country began reasserting itself as a West African economic powerhouse. Critics said the exclusion of key candidates gave Ouattara an unfair advantage and essentially cleared the way for him to secure another term in office. Voter turnout was expected to be key, according to experts, as the opposition had called for a boycott of the election. Although results are expected early next week, and observers forecast Ouattara to win the more than 50% needed to secure victory in the first round itself. Workers in Jamaica's capital, Kingston, spent Saturday filling sandbags and stocking up on supplies as Hurricane Melissa continued its approach towards the island. Workers and the business owner were seen loading sandbags into pickup trucks, while residents filled fuel canisters in last-minute preparations. Drone images showed strong winds affecting the shoreline of Harbourview, a coastal neighbourhood east of downtown Kingston. As per the US National Hurricane Center, Hurricane Melissa has strengthened into a Category 2 storm. It is expected to move closer to Jamaica earlier in the week, bringing heavy rain, coastal flooding and strong winds. You're watching Daily India News Hour, and now it's time to take a look at other stories making news around the world in brief. The American Museum of Natural History reopened its popular overnight Night at the Museum program on Friday, years after the coronavirus pandemic forced the program to close. Hundreds of children arrived with parents and caregivers to explore the museum. The program, first launched in 2006, will now continue monthly, with November and December sessions already sold out. In Los Angeles, cobbler Chris Francis maintains a collection of molds once used to make shoes for Hollywood stars. The molds, inherited from famed shoemaker Pasquale Di Fabrizio, reflects decades of bespoke craftsmanship. Amid struggles such as mass production of footwear taking over and celebrities expecting free shoes, Francis continued to preserve Hollywood's handmade shoe tradition. Chile set a Guinness World Record for the world's largest clothing swap, with over 2,000 participants gathering at La Moneda Cultural Center to exchange garments and promote sustainable fashion. The event was backed by Chile's Ministry of Environment and completed the swap in 8 hours. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to share his thoughts with the people of the country and abroad in Mann Ki Baat's 127th episode. After the break, we'll get you more updates on the resumption of operations on T2 terminal of New Delhi's International Airport. And after the break, we'll get you all the latest on the ongoing festival of Chhath Day 2.
Sometimes even the smallest things like changing our food habits or nurturing a patch of land or rethinking our relationship with the animals around us can spark a transformation that reaches way beyond ourselves.
Neighborhood Group joined forces with the local cafe to launch Feeding Forward, a program that distributes surplus food to street dogs. The idea is to reduce both waste and animal aggression.
Familial Forestry emphasizes that we are ready to own a responsibility to nurture that particular tree like a green member of family.
Our vision for this is to have every rooftop in Chennai covered by a vegetable green garden.
Sindhu's solution is a fresh salad delivery service called Salada. She and her husband have created 10 jobs and serve over 3,000 customers in Chennai.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time to quickly recap the top headlines of the hour. 47th ASEAN Summit begins in Kuala Lumpur. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to participate in ASEAN India Summit virtually. East Timor, Asia's youngest nation, becomes 11th member of Southeast Asian bloc ASEAN. East Timor Prime Minister says history made as members signed the declaration. Vice President of India C.P. Radhakrishnan on a two-day visit to Seychelles to represent the country at the swearing-in ceremony of newly elected President Dr. Patrick Herminie. Trump imposed this additional 10% tariff on Canada over using late US President Ronald Reagan in advertisement to oppose tariffs. In his first overseas visit since assuming office, Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan emplaned for Seychelles to attend the swearing-in ceremony of President-elect Dr. Patrick Herminie. Seychelles is an important partner under India's Mahasagar vision for bolstering relations across the Indian Ocean and in the country's commitment to the global south. During the visit, Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan will convey India's felicitations to Herminie and reaffirm the close, long-standing and time-tested relations between the two countries. The visit is expected to reaffirm the close, long-standing and time-tested ties between India and Seychelles, spanning cooperation in security, development and maritime affairs. And DD India spoke to the High Commissioner of India to Seychelles to know more about Vice President's visit. Take a listen.
It is a matter of great honor for us to welcome the Honorable Vice President to Seychelles on the occasion of the swearing-in ceremony of the President-elect, Dr. Patrick Herminie. As you are aware, Seychelles had elections here a few weeks ago. This is also Vice President's first foreign visit. We look forward to strengthen our bilateral relationships with Seychelles, which is already a time-tested and multifaceted partnership. Through this visit, it will also be an occasion for Honorable Vice President to interact with the Indian diaspora here and also meet with the dignitaries on the Seychelles side, including a call on the President and a meeting with the new Vice President.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people of the country and abroad in the Mann Ki Baat program today at 11 a.m. Indian Standard Time. It will be the 127th episode of the monthly radio program. The program will be broadcast across the entire Akashvani and Doordarshan network, AIR News website and the News on Air mobile application. It will be also live streamed on the YouTube channels of AIR News, DD News, DD India, PMO and the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Akashvani will broadcast the program in regional languages immediately after the Hindi broadcast. In a major step towards preserving India's invaluable and centuries-old manuscript heritage, the central government has launched a significant initiative under Gyan Bharatam mission. A historic MOU was signed in New Delhi on Saturday in the presence of Union Culture Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, who chaired the ceremony. The Ministry of Culture announced formal partnerships with around 17 leading academic and research institutions across the country. Representatives from institutions including the Asiatic Society, Kolkata, University of Kashmir, and the Government Oriental Manuscript Library, Chennai, were among the signatories. With these agreements, the institutions have officially joined the national effort for manuscript preservation. Addressing the event, Minister Shekhawat said Gyan Bharatam mission will not only protect history but also connect India's ancient knowledge systems with modern research.
ज्ञान भारतम मिशन जो है ये विरासत और भविष्य के बीच में सेतु का काम करेगा। भविष्य का भारत विकसित भारत होगा, तकनीकी के रूप से जो है समृद्ध भारत होगा, आर्थिक दृष्टि से संपन्न भारत होगा, सामरिक दृष्टि से सशक्त भारत होगा। लेकिन भारत अपनी गरिमा को प्राप्त करके प्रणम्य भारत जो बनेगा उसमें बहुत बड़ा योगदान हमारी सांस्कृतिक ताकत का होगा और उसको बहुत बड़ी भूमिका हमारे इस मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट मिशन की होगी।
Meanwhile, Culture Secretary Vivek Agrawal stated that the ministry will provide both financial and technical support to the partner institutions to ensure the work is completed at the earliest.
हमने डिजिटाइजेशन की एक बड़ी एजेंसी को एंगेज किया है। आपकी संस्थाओं में हम पूरा जो इक्विपमेंट है वो अवेलेबल कराएंगे। आपको फंडिंग का अरेंजमेंट हमने किया है और साथ में ही जो आपका हैंड होल्डिंग है, जो विभिन्न एक्सपर्ट्स हैं उनका मार्गदर्शन है, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग है, फिर आगे चल के रिसर्च होना है, ट्रांसलेशन होना है, पब्लिकेशन होना है, वो सारे कार्यक्रम हम साइमल्टेनियसली करने का प्रयास करेंगे।
In a big move for India's defence prowess, it becomes the first ever non-NATO nation to participate in Ocean Sky exercise in Spain. All eyes are set to the horizon as a tricolour takes flight with the Indian Air Force showcasing its professionalism, precision and partnership at a grand scale. DD India foreign correspondent Atman Sandhu brings us this report. Take a look.
We are in Gran Canaria, one of the Canary Islands in Spain, to witness Ocean Sky 2025. Ocean Sky is the largest international defense air combat exercise hosted by the Spanish Air Force at Granado Air Base. It brings together the Indian Air Force along with over 1,000 participants from other countries such as USA, Greece, Portugal. The Indian contingent received a warm welcome by Air General Francisco Braco Carbo, Chief of Staff of the Spanish Air Force. India is represented by a 96-member Indian Air Force delegation and 4 Sukhoi 30 MKI fighters to showcase their strengths. The highlight was multiple types of aircraft from various countries training together and sharing their ideas. The main purpose of this exercise is to test the supply chains, training air and ground crew, and the interoperability with NATO systems.
We are the Indian contingent representing the country in the Ocean Sky 25 exercise and showing the global reach of the Indian Air Force. We are here with 4 Su-30 MKI flankers and participating in this multinational exercise, which has many countries, building good friendship, learning from them and sharing our best practices with them. We've flown all type of missions and primarily in the large force engagement.
We are here at Gando Air Base, Gran Canaria from the Indian Air Force, and we have got our Su-30 flankers over here. It is a great exercise. It's a multinational exercise that is happening over here. There are 7 nations that are participating apart from us, and it's great to be here.
A tour of the deployed support section maintenance setup included covering turnaround procedures, armament preparation, and line servicing. The event wrapped up with aircraft familiarization around the Sukhoi 30 and partner aircrafts, including cockpit layouts, comms profiles, and safety checks.
Now, this is a very special exercise in the sense it's a historical one. Why? Because it's for the first time these organizers, that is Spain, they have invited a country outside NATO, and so which is India. So India is participating also for the first time in this exercise, which is happening in Euro. This shows, this indicates growing stature of India. We are already fourth largest economy in the world. We are having excellent relationship with European Union and as well as Spain.
Ocean Sky is more than a defense drill. Not only does it strengthen India's seat in Indo-Pacific and Euro-Atlantic security dialogues, it is also a symbol of the growing global footprint of Indian air power. This is Apni Sandhu in Spain for DD India.
Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport reopened its upgraded Terminal 2 on Sunday. The upgraded terminal aims to offer passengers a smoother, faster and more comfortable journey, featuring new technologies and modern facilities. Now, one of the biggest additions to the terminal is the self-package drop system, allowing the passengers to check in their luggage independently, reducing waiting time at the counters as well. The terminal now features 6 new passenger boarding bridges for faster boarding and deboarding. It also includes virtual information desk, clear wayfinding signage and improved facilities for persons with reduced mobility to make travel more inclusive. The terminal also features modern fire safety systems, a high-resolution flight information display system and redesigned airside area for smoother aircraft movement. Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and Tamil Nadu are on an alert in view of the gathering cyclonic storm Montha in the Bay of Bengal, which is approaching India's eastern coast, packing winds at an estimated speed of 90 to 100 kilometers per hour and is expected to lash the coastal regions with extremely heavy rainfall starting next week. On Saturday, Cabinet Secretary Dr. T.V. Somanathan chaired a meeting of National Crisis Management Committee to review preparedness for the impending cyclone in the Bay of Bengal. The Chief Secretaries of Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Puducherry and Additional Chief Secretary of Odisha apprised the committee of the preparatory measures being taken. NDRF and SDRF teams have been kept on standby. District control rooms have also been activated and are monitoring the situation. Fishermen have been advised not to venture into the sea until the 29th of October. Moving on. Chhath Puja, which is one of the most sacred and eco-spiritual 4-day-long festival, is being celebrated with immense devotion. The second day, known as Kharna, involves a rigorous day-long fasting without water. The devotees spend the entire day in devotion, meditation and preparations for the upcoming rituals. In the evening, after the sunset, the fast is broken following the performance of the Kharna Puja. The prasad for this ritual typically includes rice pudding made with jaggery and milk and fruits. People give the prasad to the gods and then share it with their family, friends and neighbors. After eating this holy dish, the followers start a 36-hour fast without food or water that lasts until the last morning ritual. Kharna symbolizes inner purification, a step to cleanse the mind and soul before offering the prayers to the sun god. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday extended his heartfelt greetings on the occasion of Chhath Parv's Kharna Puja and saluted all the devotees observing the fast today. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. India's foreign exchange reserves crosses $700 billion mark, rising to $702 billion. India all set to face Australia in the second semi-final of Women's Cricket World Cup at Navi Mumbai. Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now it's time to get you all the latest from the world of business. India's foreign exchange reserves have once again crossed the $700 billion mark, rising to $702 billion in the week ending 17th of October, according to the latest data released by Reserve Bank of India. The country's total reserves grew by $4.4 billion during the reported week, mainly driven by a sharp increase in gold reserves, which jumped by $6.1 billion. Gold prices also saw a significant rise, climbing to $4,251 per ounce, up from $4,017 per ounce in the previous week. India's foreign exchange reserves had previously touched a record high of $705 billion in September 2024. You're watching DD India News Hour, and now it's time to get you all the latest action from the world of sports. To begin with women's cricket. India's women's cricket team is set to face off against Bangladesh in their last group stage match at the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup in Navi Mumbai on Sunday. Having already secured a spot in the semi-finals, India will aim to conclude the group stage on a positive note. The tournament has been a mix of highs and lows for India, as the hosts began with consecutive victories over Sri Lanka and Pakistan. However, later on, they faced 3 straight losses to South Africa, Australia and England. India made a strong comeback in their crucial match against New Zealand, winning by 53 runs through TLS method. India will face table toppers Australia in the semi-finals clash at the same venue. And to get you more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Suchitra. Good morning, Suchitra. Now, finally, India is through to the semi-finals. But before that, one final league stage match against Bangladesh. How important it becomes when we talk about teams' preparations for the semi-finals, improving their net run rate and getting accustomed to Navi Mumbai's pitch, where the semi-final will also be taking place.
Yes, good morning, Deepika. So, this match is very important for India because they will try to fine-tune their skills before that all-important semi-finals. And we saw Indian team breaking the run of losses in the last match against New Zealand, but still there are some areas that Team India would like to improve. Call it the fielding, and there are still some batters who have not got runs. If we talk about the skipper Harmanpreet Kaur or Herminie, these are 2 star batters, but they have not yet clicked in this tournament. They have not played the kind of shots, the kind of knocks that they are known for. And Smriti Mandhana, Pratika Rawal both scored a century in the last match, and Jemima Rodrigues was also promoted on number 3, and she also performed. So I think in this match they will still try to experiment with their batting lineup to see if Harmanpreet and Herminie can find their rhythm before that semi-final. And yes, the stadium, the conditions are going to be the same. So we can call this match a dress rehearsal for Team India before the match against Australia. Deepika.
Looking at the group stage results so far, Team India's victory and losses as well, how prepared is Team India to win the semi-final and the chances of India to make it to the finals?
Well, if we talk about the group match against Australia, then Team India scored 330 runs, and that was a world record chase for Australia. And Team India, they committed some mistakes. They let the match slip away from their hands, but I think they will learn from those mistakes. All 3 matches that they lost against the strong teams, be it the match against South Africa, they had them 6 down with more than 100 runs still required to win. If we talk about England, they lost that match by just 4 runs. So all those 3 matches, Team India was at one point in winning condition, but they let that match slip away. And but this is going to be the semi-final. There is no second chance. A knockout is always a different kind of setup, and Australia is known for that big match temperament. So definitely India will have to perform well under pressure, and they will have to learn from their own mistakes that they committed against Australia, because we know that India can defeat Australia. We defeated Australia at our home for the first time, recently in the bilateral series in New Chandigarh. So yes, this team can defeat Australia, but they just have to learn from their mistakes and keep the momentum going. So today's match is also one chance for them to build the momentum and carry that momentum in the semi-final. Deepika.
All right, thank you so much for joining us and getting us the latest on women's cricket match today. And on its way to the semi-finals, Team India this time recorded many individual records. We not only saw a brilliant performance from Pratika Rawal, but marvellous Mandhana once again rose to the occasion. Mighty Deepti, Captain Harmanpreet, and in fact bowler Renuka Thakur too attained memorable records. Our next report gets you more details. Take a look.
The Indian women's cricket team not only made it to the semi-finals of the ongoing Women's Cricket World Cup, but created a lot of individual records as well. The tournament witnessed the rise of players like Pratika Rawal, along with the graceful touches of experienced players like Harmanpreet Kaur and Smriti Mandhana. The most number of records were attained in India's league stage match against New Zealand. Let's take a look at them. Pratika Rawal became the fastest Indian and joint fastest to score 1,000 ODI runs. In the match against New Zealand, Rawal became the third player in Women's Cricket World Cup to score 100, take a wicket and a catch in a single match. Smriti Mandhana and Pratika Rawal recorded 212 run stand, which is India's highest in Women's Cricket World Cup's history and highest opening partnership in the current edition. India also recorded its highest total with 340 for a loss of 3 wickets. The score was attained in its match against New Zealand and is also the second highest total against New Zealand in women's ODI after England's 347 for 5 in 2021. Smriti Mandhana recorded joint most international hundreds and joint most hundreds in a calendar year. Renuka Singh surpassed former legendary Indian pacer Jhulan Goswami, becoming the fastest Indian pacer to touch the 100 international wicket milestone in 143 appearances. Deepti Sharma became only the 5th player in the tournament's 52-year-old history to achieve the rare double of a 4-wicket haul and half-century in the same match. The Indian star is also the first player to do so against England in the Women's Cricket World Cup. Not only this, Deepti also became the second Indian bowler to get to the 150-wicket landmark in Women's ODI. In match against England, Captain Harmanpreet Kaur became just the second Indian player to score 1,000 runs in ICC Women's Cricket World Cup. Now going into the semi-finals, the hosts have now a bigger task in hand. The dream is to secure a maiden World Cup victory, surpassing the crucial battle of the semi-finals. Sports Desk, DD India.
And now let's get you the latest news which is now coming in. Thai-Cambodia leaders sign an expanded ceasefire deal in the presence of Donald Trump. Well, the leaders of Thailand and Cambodia signed the enhanced ceasefire deal in the presence of the US President, who intervened in the month of July to bring an end to their deadly 5-day border conflict. Now it builds on a truce reached 3 months ago after Trump called the then leaders of the two countries and then urged them to end the hostilities or risk putting their respective trade talks with Washington on hold. The agreement was signed soon after Trump's arrival at a summit of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations in Kuala Lumpur on the sidelines of the ASEAN Summit. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.